Greetings, Ranger fans. Jake here for another Database Rangers Power Reviews review, where we are looking back at classic episodes of our running web series, Database Rangers Power Reviews. So yes, reviews of reviews and me providing live commentary into the series that got this channel started and is still running to this day as we count down to our big finale with the 100th episode next year. But tonight, we're going to be looking at a very special milestone, the 20th episode of Database Rangers Power Reviews, which was a big game changer in many regards. This was the big changeover from reviewing Super Samurai to doing weekly reviews of Power Rangers Megaforce as they were coming out. And for MJ, they frequently refer to this as the episode that, if you're not going to start from the first episode, start from this episode. Because we're going to see the entire main cast interacting with one another for the first time, with the exception of one character, but still the cast members all interacting, which is going to be very exciting. Ask DB was the real breadwinner of the channel. I mean, I do feel like they were definitely serving their purpose there for a while. I do miss Ask DB. They were a lot of fun to do, and it did garner a lot of good fan interaction, which I appreciated. So welcome to Scott, to Sean. Of course, we got MJ in the chat there. Welcome to Chris. I'm sure we have others joining us shortly. So looking back on seeing what sort of comments that we've had on recent videos. Digidestined was asking how long it took to get the talking in unison stuff down. Honestly, we tend to get it down really quick, although Justin and Sarah really took to it very well. Obviously DB and Mayo had a few lines in unison, and I actually look back on that and feel like we could probably do it better now. Just we have that better feel for things, and I do tend to I think be almost a little bit more of a perfectionist than I was then, when we were sort of in the midst of rolling episodes out every week. We were very much kind of rushing through things. And my editing also just wasn't as tight back then. I do have actually one thing that's kind of interesting with the episode we're going to watch tonight is I do have an alternate version of it. That's not really that different, just has a tighter edit and a little intro, because years ago, when Channel Awesome was putting out a call for creators, I did submit to try and get in on Channel Awesome before this was obviously well before we knew publicly how many issues there existed with Channel Awesome as a company. But this episode was my submission. Obviously, didn't shake out, for better or worse. But that's one of the reasons that I'm very excited for this one. It was a lot of fun. It was filming at a different location. So there were a lot of little elements to it. And I realized that I had something that was slowing down this computer a little bit. Yeah, Megaforce is the only series that Power Reviews covers this in entirety, with the exception of one episode. There's only one episode of Megaforce that isn't covered. We don't actually cover all 42 episodes of Megaforce and Super Megaforce. We do skip one episode, and that is the Halloween episode, which is dropping out of my mind right now. I'm totally blank. I hate that I'm blanking on the... Oh man, I'm getting old. I'm blanking on the name of the Halloween episode. like, the plot is in my head. The episode's playing in my head right now. Raising Spirits. Thank you, Scott. Hey there, Dan. Welcome. But that is literally the only episode of Megaforce / Super Megaforce that we didn't cover, and that's just because I couldn't resist covering Trickster Treat instead for that Halloween episode. So with all that intro out of the way, we should be diving into things, and of course, gotta grab this over here. We gotta start off with our non-controversial phrases. So these are all phrases we should be able to consider equally non-controversial in this day and age. So, number 1, say it with me, chat. Black lives matter. Number 2, say it with me, chat. Fascism is bad. And number 3, say it with me, chat. Superheroes are fun. And I hope that everyone is having a wonderful holiday weekend. Happy Passover to all those out there who are celebrating. I have not been having any leavened goods. We had some lovely matzah lasagna, if you will, earlier this evening. And a happy Easter Sunday coming up this weekend. Welcome, Mega. So, who is ready to kick things off with the 20th episode of Database Rangers Power Reviews? Mega Mission.
Last season on Power Review.
Yes.
Super Samurai. Borrowing that camera. Thanks a lot.
Because this was me covering the season.
New bells and whistles. It's called a squeak. Some New Year's resolutions. Find a publisher. Make some new friends. Hi. Isn't going too well. Here's your invitation. See you there. I think I just got invited to my first party. And now, Database Rangers.
And
Power
yes,
Review.
of course, Phantom does not is not one who has traditionally been social.
Welcome to Power Reviews. Well, not exactly. Sorry, force of habit. I'm not even sure if I'll end up posting this, but I've been having a bit of writer's block on the first Megaforce review. So taking a little break and bringing the squee over to the more popular housewarming party.
This is like such a nice little transition into how we.
Of course, trying to explain why I'm talking to an camera would raise just as many questions.
This really did. This moment right here really sets the stage for how the show is going to be running after that.
Welcome to our home.
So glad you could make it. Come on in.
And this is actually
I'm good.
this was actually Justin and Sarah's apartment at the time. And as you might notice, we were in the same complex, not in the same building, but we actually mirrored. But one of the great things is their apartment is a mirror of what our apartment was. And you see all those books back there? The books that are all in...
Actually, it's Database. Database Ranger.
All these books are in the bookshelf backwards. I didn't ask them to do that.
You know what, server's fine.
Justin and Sarah just decided to just really play into the weirdness.
Guy,
Weren't you the one who borrowed my camera a few months ago?
Yeah, I have been meaning to
I love
talk
the
to you
little
about
glance to the
that,
camera. Also, the shot of me walking in through the door was one of the few handheld shots that exist in the entire series. Because that was before I really had a good dedicated tripod. It wasn't tall enough, so I needed to have it held up to see all three of us. Oh, and then this little moment of the glitch of the squee seeing Mayo as Dr. K.
No, I'm good.
It's just really kind of fun because it's Database's connection to the squee just sort of
Kind of an inspiring author.
overriding reality just a little bit.
I'm doing a web series in the meantime.
It's one of the very few cases where you see something that isn't what's happening in universe.
So, what do you review?
Well, are you guys all familiar with Power Rangers?
Oh, and behind them, there's that blender with the leak in the...
Yeah, actually just started up its 20th season a few weeks ago.
Really? Impressive.
I also love just playing how they all have
Fascinating franchise.
the classic different reactions to hearing somebody talk about Power Rangers. Oh no, I haven't heard of it. Maybe I've heard of it. That show's still on. Because that's basically the way that people will react. And then this episode also is sort of a reintroduction to the franchise. I wanted to treat this as a jumping off point for people to sort of jump in and still not be completely lost if they hadn't watched Power Rangers before. But yes, the leak in the blender, instead, it was their take on a flower in a vase.
And people watch this?
Well, not a lot, but the ones that do seem to enjoy it.
Can we see some of it? We'd love to see your work.
And this is also, I feel like that statement is still true. Like, people actually watch this? Well, not many, but the people who do seem to enjoy it. And thank you to those of you who are joining us and enjoying this right now.
That sounds delightful.
And I love, this was shot actually over the course of a couple visits over to their place, because there were a lot of shots to shoot. So everything where you see me in solo, not everybody else was there. Like, Dave wasn't there for every shot. He was only there really for the group shots and his solo shots. But I love when we were shooting this couch, because Database has such a wonderful visceral reaction to the legendary battle clips that end up paying off in no real way. And I love that I was doing this as a review inside of an episode. Like, it was really fun actually exploring Megaforce through the lens of the attempt to be an homage to those earlier seasons, to the first season.
What? Does anyone read Wikipedia?
Noah's anxious to counter with his answer, but is quickly discredited by Gia.
And I will say, when we first introduced Mayo with the tablet, it was out of an intention for her to be just a major techie, but in a completely different kind of way than Kay is. To really play into the alternate universe version of Kay, what Kay could have been if she was led something approaching a normal life. Obviously, Mayo has had her own crazy struggles that were very different than Kay's, as we've learned in more recent episodes.
New opening theme.
But yeah, this is really our first proper introduction to Mayo, and I really wanted to sort of play around with the parallels to Kay.
When did the Power Rangers become Mouseketeers?
2 years ago. Can't really decide what to make of this theme song. Actually, I can't be sure the song knows what to make of itself. Still loving the guitar riffs, though, and the film designs do look intriguing.
It is.
Ooh, so many shiny colors.
That line has new emotions now that we've seen the more Posner's backstory.
Especially on all the spiffy new Zords and massive Ranger battle footage.
I just love seeing everybody together. It's so, especially
title smash ever.
Especially in the context of real life events. Like, I haven't really been able to see Justin and Sarah in like a year because everything's been locked down. And I really miss.
But no, that is not Ernie. There's only one Ernie, and that's Richard Janelli. What's the actor's name for this guy? Shailesh? Okay, until further notice, this guy's name is Shailesh, not Ernie.
Who is this Ernie?
According to this, he ran the youth center where the Power Rangers all hung out during the first couple of seasons.
I was very protective of
That's sad.
of Ernie's memory in that.
A glowing face wakes up the twice removed
Like I Megaforce Ernie was definitely a weird mixed bag. Like, the actor did a fine job with what he was tasked to do. It was just such a weird attempt at a callback.
Naturally, Tensu selects our 5 main characters. At the brain freeze,
Oh, are you kidding me? Warning, we've detected copyrighted audio and video in my stream. Oh, of course. Of course you have.
Buddy soon teleported away as well. Out in the forest.
It's so sad those teleportation effects weren't used beyond the first episode. It's actually really interesting that at the time that I wrote this episode, I hadn't really seen any other Megaforce yet. It was coming out as I was writing it, so although obviously it eventually became a very divisive set of seasons.
Power Rangers Lost Galaxy, off the vortex, but not forgotten.
Oh, Vortex! Oh man, that's a throwback. But this opening had a lot of promise. It was very sort of bare bones, but it had a lot of promise.
Wait, this thing knew Zordon? You know who Zordon was? No.
All these little touches of who these characters will eventually be revealed to be. Like, Guy is trying to play everything so close to the chest. And it makes sense in the context of you later discovering that he's a Hexagon agent from the Power Rangers universe, that he would know the history of the Rangers, but not the history of their civilian lives. He would know who Zordon is, but he would have no idea who Ernie was, unless he was from Angel Grove. And as we discover later, regardless of whether or not he's been to Angel Grove, his closer ties appear to be with Jungle Karma Pizza, and many aspects of his past have actually been erased. So, welcome, Ty.
The teens start voicing their concerns.
Who are they? But what's this ranger deal?
This whole bit is so weird.
I'm new in town.
Oh, Manny, stupid.
I thought you said this was the 20th.
I know, it is.
Figured out by now?
Yeah, my only explanation is some kind of massive government cover-up.
You'll never be able to prove that.
I love that. I love Dave's delivery of that line. It was so perfectly timed. It just so deadpan, perfect.
Actually, I kind of hope that happens every time they do that.
And it's really funny also playing into the personalities of the actors as well. Like, let's face it, Mayo's reaction there is totally like MJ's reaction would be in real life. Whereas Guy is just the complete opposite of Dave in so many ways. Like, Guy is portrayed as being so gruff and standoffish, and just kind of angry all the time. And as I've said, a million times, Dave is the nicest person that I've known in my entire life, and I've known Dave for over 20 years now.
Emma is pink with the nounlessness of the phoenix, and Gia is yellow with the
nounlessness.
And thus, the Power Rangers Megaforce are born. Drawing from the card decks and their belt buckles.
This is also before we got really burnt out on, Mighty Morphin throwbacks. Megaforce really kind of codified the Mighty Morphin burnout in many regards.
Realizing that the humans won't be going down without a fight, Admiral Malcor summons a real.
And there's Admiral Malcor, our good friend of the channel, Campbell Cooley, in one of his first major roles in the series. Correction, he'd been doing he's been doing voices since SPD with Tomars, if I recall correctly. But, you know, he was the lead villain here as Malcor.
Let's move on. After a series of spiffy attacks that showcase their powers of sky, land,
it's so fun properly introducing the more Posners, finally properly introducing Mayo, having all of these characters interacting with each other. I love these cast moments, and I'm so sad that we can't really do them anymore. We basically have shot everything that involves the more Posners, and you know, for this past year, we haven't even been able to hang out socially because of quarantining.
You did. And with that final reference fully melted, our new team stands united and ready. And that's the end of our episode. Well, the end of what I have so far, at least.
Yeah, this was back when Database was actually editing reviews.
It was pretty.
It was shiny.
You were great. I liked it better when I saw it the first
They were so supportive.
Fair enough. Although I appreciated the sentiment, they did go a bit overboard with the references, creating a really confusing disparity between the historical aspects
and it's not really until episode 33 that the Squee starts randomly generating episodes.
Shaking things up a little bit. I mean, the Pink Ranger line at the end. So predictable. Think of, I don't know, give it to the Black Ranger. That would have thrown off expectations.
This is also just a really fun way to do an analysis, just having
fit his character very well.
all these different opinions of the premiere episode.
The buggy thing.
Yeah, the villains could definitely have been better defined. I mean, Ghost barely seemed to know anything about them outside of their being aliens. And we didn't even hear the third leader's name. Which I found out is Vrak, by the way.
Oh man, Vrak wasn't even named in the first episode. I forgot that.
You're right. It did serve as a competent origin story. We got a good
Welcome, Lex. Got off class just in time. We're rolling through the end of this.
Each ranger was introduced with a clearly defined persona right off the bat, which
Now, this is something that I do stand by when it comes to Megaforce. The character development of the series, not strong. Character growth, virtually non-existent. The characterization was solid. They were all distinct. They all had clear personalities, even if they were one-dimensional. Even one-dimensional personalities are still a form of characterization. But looking at this right now, those 5 characters all sitting there, and we end on a what, as would become such a tradition throughout that series. Oh, come on. Oh, no autoplay. There we go. And there we have it. Our premiere of Power Rangers Megaforce and the 20th episode of Power Reviews. But those scenes that involved all 5 of us felt like such an in-joke to me at the time, because I knew what was coming. I'm like, oh man, this plays like it's just a house party of 5 quirky neighbors. But no. As you go from left to right, it's like, okay, secret agent from the Power Rangers universe, Dr. K's alternate universe counterpart, an amnesiac Phantom Ranger, and 2 people who are currently possessed by a singular demon serving a psionic entity from the world between worlds. And these were all things that I knew about the characters at the time that we were filming it. Like, the only development with regards to those characters that I didn't really know in advance was that Mayo's tablet would allow Mayo to basically become a wizard later on. And that's just because I hadn't incorporated that particular plot point. I hadn't thought of that plot point yet. But that was so funny to me at the time, because none of that had been laid out in the show. And when you have that context, it becomes the weirdest housewarming party because it's a collection of people from across different universes. Not to mention that Database and Guy aren't even from the same Power Rangers timelines, as we later learned. With Guy being from the main timeline and Database being from the RPM timeline, with their splintering at Countdown to Destruction that we have still not really fully explored and explained. So there's so much stuff that adds so many layers of context to these interactions. The fact that this is the beginning of the Morpostners observing Database and working their way into his life so that they can later like kidnap him and brainwash him with Venjix the following year. The fact that Guy is in the midst of observing Mayo for Alphabet Soup, who he's actually secretly spying upon as a mole. Like, and Database is just clueless to all of this. And yeah, obviously I'm just throwing tons of spoilers out there, but you know, this was 8 years ago. So if you want to see the context for all this and you haven't yet, you should absolutely keep watching the series. So I do love how that episode came out. I do wish that my editing was a little tighter, as I've mentioned before. There are little bits where frames from different clips kind of bleed over, and that's just sort of a weird exporting thing that I've since learned how to bypass, just by giving myself a little bit more frames of buffer when editing. You know, we had to have people... We had to have people holding the camera in place for one or two shots simply because we couldn't quite get those angles without the proper tripod, which, you know, now I have a tripod just holding up a camera to point it at a TV, which is a weird use of a tripod, I will admit. So, asking about what 99 and 100... I will announce those as they're I will announce what the final episodes will be as they're coming out. But I'm not going to say I'm not going to give away what the final episodes are going to be in advance. I think that many of them will be considered very fitting. I'll put it that way. There are definitely going to be plenty of episodes that I think are very important to the franchise, and that I personally connect well to. I'm really looking forward to getting 93 out later this month, and then in another 2 months, 94, and I want to try and stick to that schedule as best I can. 94 has a lot of things that still need to be worked out. 93 I'm making good progress on 93. This week is my spring break, so I'm looking forward to getting a lot of editing done. I don't think I'll be able to finish it this week, but I will, I think, be able to make enough progress this week, and take care of the requisite pickup shots, hopefully, so that I can complete the episode by the end of the month. We've been doing really well with these last few episodes. This every other month pattern does seem to be holding right now. Fingers crossed, knock on wood. I'm going to try to keep on top of it, with episode 93 being... It's looking on target. And episode 93, fortunately, is another episode that doesn't take much by way of effects. That's one of the really nice things about episodes like 91 through 94 are not super effects heavy. So this has allowed me to work on them during the school year. And then we'll have 95 through 100, and those are going to take a little bit more work, because at that point we're diving into the end game of the series that we've been working towards this whole time. there's exciting stuff going on and multiple plot threads, and I'm reaching out to a lot of actors to get as many people together as I can for filming this summer, so that we can make the finale as big as it deserves to be. Obviously 79 and 80 set a high bar for finales with this show. And I feel like I want us to top that as best we can, and to give the series a proper send off by the end of next year, with the 10-year anniversary in October of 2022. So I was, this is fair, I was building out my multiverse back before the DCEU, and I don't know, was I? Yeah, this predated The Flash, so this was before the Arrowverse really got started either. MCU still beat me to the punch pretty well. But yeah, that was an episode I was looking forward to so much. Back when I was originally planning it, because it was the first time that it was a filming, on location outside of the apartment, with a full cast, and that was really sort of an important step in production, trying to bring all those characters together, and that's when it started feeling a little bit more like a production and a little bit less just a guy sitting in a chair with a camera. And obviously we'll take that next big step when we hit the summer, the summer season with episode 33. But this string of slice of life episodes are a lot of fun, and I look forward to revisiting all of them. There's a lot of good sequences that I had in mind when I first came up with the ideas for the series. And this was one of the early ones that this would be, sort of that proper introduction to the more pop series and give me a chance to really show off the cast, and the chemistry that I like to think still exists, even though we've had to kind of divvy people up over the years. So I feel like that's probably a pretty good place to leave things off for this week. As always, we'll have the deeper look and the rapid run through being released Sunday morning at 8. So Easter Sunday, treat yourself to a pair of new videos, looking at the next episode of Power Rangers Dino Fury. So I'll be waking up bright and early to check that out and get those videos together. Yes, Ty, that the New Year's resolutions from episode 13 were basically me foreshadowing the next 40 episodes and presenting the audience with the blueprint of what those next 40 episodes were going to be, in a way that I felt wasn't giving things away. And I do love that we were able to sprinkle so many different little Easter eggs throughout those early episodes. And you're going to keep seeing little things that I had in mind at the time, that wouldn't get paid off until years later. There's actually a year one plot point that's actually finally going to be addressed in the next episode. There's a little year one bit of foreshadowing that's actually going to get addressed in 93. And that's going to be an important character moment, I feel. So all that being said, with that little bit of tease out of the way, let's close things out with our remaining 3 equally non-controversial phrases that we should all be able to agree are things that we shouldn't have to debate at this stage in our lives. So, number 1, say it with me, chat. Love is love. Number 2, say it with me, chat, trans rights are human rights. And number 3, say it with me, chat, robots are cool. These are things that should be considered on equal standing to be able to say in our current society, and I think that we should all be able to agree on that front. So make sure to join me next week as we continue this journey through Megaforce and the Year 1 spring season of Power Reviews. Don't forget to tune in Easter Sunday morning for the next new deeper look at Power Rangers Dino Fury. And thank you all for joining me, and until next time, farewell, Ranger fans, and let the power protect you.